You want to say your name, spell it?
My name is Jeffrey Lee Eby, EBY.
And your occupation?
Semi-retired. I do technical consulting for about another 2 months with Trigicon Incorporated. But I'm going to wrap all that up soon.
And former military, former Marine?
Former Marine Corps, enlisted for 17 years, and then officer for 11.
All right, so your takeaway from the questions from both sides today?
Yeah, I don't like the idea that you're going to determine for the military that a semi-automatic rifle would be sufficient for our wars, because I totally disagree with that. My thoughts on disarming the populace of Illinois goes both directions, right? I disagree with it. I disagree that I'm required to be a victim by policy and wait on the police to show up when I'm the first responder. And I think that I should have exactly what they are carrying on my first response and let them show up later. They're not saving me. They may not even be closing the case with a very low closure rate in the state of Illinois. So I disagree with this premise that they can disarm the populace and force us to be victims. I disagree that they don't accept personal responsibility when they issue orders like this.
And from what I'm kind of gathering here, it seems that the state wants to try to say these semi-automatic rifles, more than 170 or so, mainly the AR-15, is too close to a military style rifle.
That is their premise, but it is absolutely incorrect when looking at the requirement for our rifles in service. Absolutely require a automatic capability.
So you're essentially saying that, to distill it down, there's no way the military would accept a semi-automatic only. Right?
Won't even entertain the conversation.
What did you think of the literature that was published that said that you would need like semi-automatic weapons to be more accurate in like these rapid fire situations?
I've seen those literature throughout my whole life. There's a lot of truth to those, right? There is a great value in well-aimed fire. The premise falls apart in the military in that we seldom see the person trying to live at the other end. I'm not aiming at a person. I'm aiming at a general position. Imagine this building right behind you. There's probably 50 different aim points right there, from rooftop to every window to every doorway. And I have to cover every one of those simultaneously for one person to move 10 feet. And I can't do that if you're going to limit my options to just semi-auto.
And what do you want to see happen here, the ultimate outcome? I mean, you kind of talked a bit about that, but...
I would like to see the Seventh Circuit overturn their own injunction on this. I would like to see the people of Illinois have an opportunity to defend themselves as the Constitution directs, right? Not be pigeonholed down to a musket, because the state seems to know with clairvoyance what they need to have to defend themselves.
Yeah, so the judge was kind of getting into that towards the end there, right? You guys were talking about like people who are maybe wheelchair bound, wanting to use like more automatic weapons or semi-automatic weapons for self-defense. And I guess like what have you seen in your experience like when it comes to like home defense for civilians?
Every individual needs to find the weapon that suits their body shape and size. I would have a different weapon for you than I would for you, right? And then with my training and background, I'd have my own different weapon, right? So I do think that we would eventually lean ourselves into some training requirements, if not just encouragements. And I would say put them in the elementary schools all the way through the high school. Quit hiding our head in the sand and start that education early. If you want to get it there, pay for it. Subsidize those things you want people to do. So subsidize the training. Don't put the burden on the individual if you're going to put the requirement on them. Start the training in our common ground areas in the education system. And then when they get out of this and are old enough to use them, they won't be an obstacle to the use of the weapon.
You're a retired member of the military. You're not exempt.
I'm not exempt. I'm a victim just like every single other person. Matter of fact, when I drove here today, I did so out of protest and frustration because I had to leave all my weapons in Missouri because I wasn't allowed to cross that river without being a felon. So after serving my country for 3 decades, I am immediately a felon by crossing this stupid state.
And then
it's the first time I've crossed into this state in 30 years for this reason. And I'm happy to leave here in a minute if I have wheels.
Final thoughts on just the impetus of this has been mass shootings, the Highland Park incident. We saw some, mass shootings using AR-style rifles. Even yesterday, somebody was had a AK-47 style rifle and was possibly going to shoot at the president.
Former president. So what actions have we taken to eliminate plea bargains and keep those criminals in prison, or eliminate them physically? I'll volunteer. Right? What actions have we taken to eliminate gun-free zones that attract these mentally disturbed people who want to win the next competition of the most people shot? Because you'll find that in several different actions. That kid that shot up the Newtown, Connecticut, had a roster of the shooter in Norway who had killed 64, and he was trying to beat him. And that just happened recently again. And I think it was the Georgia shooter. He had evidence of it. He wanted to be the high shooter. Eliminate these possibilities, right? Educate the force, eliminate the gun-free zones, allow people to defend themselves and making them into permanent victims, and then keep the criminals in jail instead of plea bargaining them out and turning them back loose on us. And it's not uncommon. Someone like George Floyd, with 20 pages of charges against him, still on the dang street. And we make him a hero.
So do you feel that those who do abide by the law and are responsible firearms owners are being punished because of these bad actors who don't recognize gun-free zone signs?
They're absolutely being punished. We're not holding the politicians accountable for the opportunities to plea bargain out the criminals, for letting them loose, and then they're wanting to punish us who follow the law for the actions of the miscreants we're not holding accountable.
Anything else?
I think, yeah, I know they talked a little bit about the 9mm handgun and like how that's used by police forces and law enforcement as well. I guess what are your thoughts on that as like a...
It's a necessary. I mean, it is necessary if they're so they don't make people uncomfortable. They're approaching, they're trying to help, they're trying to say, hey, here's the rule, you need to follow it. They're not just slamming people down and saying, hey, look, you're in violation. They're, look, you know, that's what you're doing is unlawful, I need you to stop doing it. They interact that way. The pistol seems to calm people down a little bit, especially the concealed pistol, they don't even know I'm wearing it. Rifles tend to ramp up the nervousness, right? So they don't want to come at you the very first time they see you with a rifle because they've escalated the problem. And I don't disagree with that. But for his own life, and I went through this, or I had Marines go through this Department of Energy training course, and they knew they're carrying pistols for convenience. And when you go to the chow hall, you don't have to figure out where to lay your rifle. So their first stage of fire is to fight their way back to their car and get their rifle, because they understand the value of the rifle is to win the fight. The value of the pistol is self-defense. And if the pistol, and again, I'm a trainer, pistols are hard to train people. It is easy to pull that sight out of alignment and cause a miss at as early as 3 yards. By smashing the trigger too hard with all the adrenaline in the body, by jerking the trigger, those short sight radiuses are easily off the target and can cost you your life. The ARs, because it adjusts to fit you, it's lightweight, you can handle it just as easily as my daughters when they started shooting them when they were 8 years old. It points naturally. It's harder to miss. The triggers aren't so susceptible to jerking and flinching and bucking at that range. They'll increase your life expectancy.
So you did say that in court. You said that you know, people need to be trained with a shotgun. A pistol may not be as effective because it could miss. But you said that home defense, self-defense, they are 15's your choice.
That would be my recommendation. I would advocate for the training, but I would put the training in the education system that already exists and not put the burden of cost and time and location on the citizen. Start early, fix the next generations early.